Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Dave coming to you from the paddock here in Southern Maryland. We haven't done a video from the paddock in a while. So it's about noon on Friday. It's the warm weather blew out with the big storms last night. We'll talk about that in a minute, but it's really nice and bright. I'll turn you around and show you. So you can see there's Sasha. She's keeping guard. She likes to look out the door, but you can see it's beautiful weather out there. There's my expedition that we traded in for when we were in Wyoming, made the trip across the United States. Great, you can see it's bright and nice, and see Sasha there watching guards. She took a good 3-hour nap over there this morning. So a couple of people that mentioned the storms that came through. I guess New York City got hit pretty hard, but yeah, we had 2 storm fronts come through last night that were more like we get big summer thunderstorms here when it gets super hot. When it gets to be like 100 degrees and 100% humidity, you know you're gonna get a thunderstorm that night. We haven't had too many the last couple of years. In fact, we were joking last night that was Sasha's and Finn's kind of first real boomers. They were hardcore too. They were lightning was hitting close and was extremely loud. So we had two waves come through last night. One at about 5 in the afternoon, then one around 10 o'clock at night. So that was kind of interesting. Rained like crazy for 5 or 6 hours, but then it got so windy. It was windy all night and all this morning, so everything's kind of dried out now. But it's beautiful and clear, and it's just not very warm out right now. So maybe this afternoon or this evening we'll do a fire pit chat. I think it'll be cool enough to light a fire tonight. So I'm smoking my Maryland Meerschaum. This is pretty much the only pipe I smoke when I'm here in Maryland. It's a Churchwarden, which I love. And in fact, I like it so much that I made a change for Wyoming. So I ordered, when I got home earlier this week, I ordered a new Wyoming Meerschaum. And the reason I did it is, it's kind of nice. It comes in a custom case. I can order all my Meerschaums from meerschaummarket.com, which I believe is here on the East Coast of the U.S. So I think I ordered it Monday and it got here Tuesday or Wednesday. But anyway, so you can see it's pretty close to the one I smoke now. It's got an elephant carving on it. It's part of their Master Craftsman series. It's not quite as thick, but this is my favorite pipe. You know, big, wide bit, long Churchwarden, and so I ordered the same thing here. Slightly lighter. I like these Master Craftsmen are usually thick and heavy, and this is close, but not quite as much. So, but I think you'll see me. I'll drag this out to Wyoming with me next time, and I've got that Sherlock Holmes Meerschaum, but I'm gonna switch to this one, I think. They send it with a short bit, but I don't use them. I like the Churchwarden a lot. So anyway, there's an update on that. So I want old school. I don't smoke this very often anymore, but this is Boswell's Cherry Vanilla. If you've been with me a while, you know this is the very first tobacco I ever purchased. So got a little bit of sentimental value. So I don't go aromatic all that much, but we'll do that today. I was talking about my old dark fired and dark fired cherries and all the Burleys, Burley Morning Pipe, Burley or Morning Pipe, 8 State Burley, Boswell's Premium Burley. But every now and then you gotta switch it up, so we'll go aromatic today. If you're an aromatic person, I gotta tell you, Boswell's Cherry Vanilla is pretty damn good. I smoke 2. I smoke their Cherry Vanilla, and I smoke their No Bite Delight, which is sort of chocolate. I've introduced a lot of people to pipe smoking in the last 2 years with No Bite Delight. So Boswell's Cherry Vanilla and Boswell's No Bite Delight. Two aromatics that I recommend. Probably the only 2 you'll hear me talk about too much. So about the only thing I really want to talk about on this video is I joined Dr. Alan Haraldson's Pipe Cottage book club. And the first book up, I'm behind. I'm a book behind, but this is the first book, Russell Kirk's The American Cause. And it's a pretty shockingly good book. So I just thought I'd take a minute and talk about the book and read to you from it. So the tobacco portion of the video is over. I just want to read to you a little bit about what America is based on in the opinion of Russell Kirk. I happen to agree with what he writes, and I was pretty stunned as I read the book, so I thought I'd just bring it up here and spend the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes reading to you. So this comes right out of chapter 1. This book is intended to be an honest description of the beliefs we Americans live by. The American Cause is a brief effort to refresh Americans' minds. Many Americans are badly prepared for their task of defending their own convictions and interests and institutions against the grim threat of armed ideology. The propaganda of radical ideologues sometimes confuses and weakens the will and well-intentioned Americans who lack any clear understanding of their own nation's first principles. And in our age, good-natured ignorance is a luxury none of us can afford. I love that concept. I'm just going to jump around and read to you. One reason that Americans, like the English, do not spend much time arguing over theories of politics is that for a very great while, nearly all of us have been contented with our society and our form of government. We have not been revolutionary since 1776 because we have felt that we have enjoyed as good a society as any people reasonably can hope for. But nowadays, if we mean to defend against our enemies all the good things in our society, we need to study and to think. If we seem to the rest of the world to stand for nothing, and if we ourselves are ignorant of those ideas and institutions which nurture our culture and our political liberty, why then we will fall, no matter how great our industrial productivity is, and no matter how many divisions we equip, and no matter what ingenious new weapons we devise. When anti-American ideologues on college campuses can bewilder even American university students by their arguments, then our American cause is in peril. I kind of like that, gosh, for 200 years we were kind of comfortable. We thought we had the best country, the best culture on the planet. And I think that's eroded over the last 20 or 30 years. And I think this concept of the ideologues on our college campuses putting our American cause in peril. I like that. I don't like it, but I like the way he wrote it. It is doubtful whether the great majority of American citizens are possessed of any clear understanding of those differences of principle which distinguish their society from that of their adversaries. And this is a perilous condition. And I do believe that. I think I'm 60 and I really have a pretty weak understanding of it. And this book is helping me. But I believe people 30 years old, 20 years old, teenagers have no idea of the founding principles of the United States, and if charged to defend our way of life or our culture, they really couldn't come up with why is it so important to defend it anymore. And I thought this book kind of helped me clarify that. It is not required that radical doctrines be accepted with enthusiasm. Rather, such nostrums flourish upon the indifference and ignorance of the majority. And I believe we do have both of that today. We have indifference and ignorance of the majority of not just Americans, by the way, I think of all of Western society. A fanatic armed doctrine can be resisted only by a strong body of sound principles. If we are too indolent to think, we might as well surrender to our enemies tomorrow. That's what you, it's one of those recurring themes on the channel, right? Is think, right? We just talked yesterday about think through a decision, really think through the long-term implications. Think. And I said on the channel many times, I think critical thinking and good non-emotional decision-making skills, thinking skills and decision-making skills are two things we have stopped teaching our kids. You know, I don't know when that happened, but there's plenty of even 60-year-olds all the way down to teens that don't know how to make good decisions anymore or think through a problem before they start implementing decisions. I just thought that was great. If we are too indolent to think, we might as well surrender to our enemies tomorrow. I like that sentence. So he goes on in the second chapter to say, for a great power, the United States has been an astonishingly tranquil and unbelligerent nation. We have maintained a degree of order and justice and freedom, very rare in history, and I happen to agree with that sentence. I think that even today, I mean, I don't like what the last administration did, but even today, order, justice, and freedom have been a huge part of what the United States stands for. And I'm hoping we're getting back to that, and I'm hoping we'll continue to think and make good decisions about the future of the country. But I thought that was a good sentence. One cannot see or feel or taste or hear ideas, yet without the existence of great ideas, human beings would be only animals and could exist only as animals live. Only mankind possesses ideas. The success or failure of any human society depends on how sound and true its ideas are. That a nation has prospered a great while, that it has been orderly and free and just and wealthy, is one very good proof that its ideas have been sound and true. So then he goes on to talk about three bodies of principles that we really did found the U.S. on. I really liked them. At least three groups of ideas or bodies of principles invisibly control any people, whether those people are Australian Bushmen or highly civilized modern nations. The first and most important of these bodies of principle is the set of moral convictions which a people hold. Their ideas about the relationship between God and man, about virtue and vice, honesty, dishonesty, honor and dishonor. The second of these bodies of principles is the set of political convictions which people hold. Their ideas about justice and injustice, freedom and tyranny, personal rights and power, and the whole complex problem of living together peaceably. The third of these bodies of principles is a set of economic convictions which people hold. Their ideas about wealth and poverty, public and private responsibilities in the affair of making a living and the distribution of goods and services. I like that. Nice, crisp, three categories of beliefs that we used as beginning the United States. Out of the development of these bodies of principles, there grows what we call civilization. And when these bodies of principles are weakened and people lose faith in the ideas by which they live, civilization decays. I believe we have been experiencing that for 20 or 30 years in the Western world. These principles have been built up over a great many centuries. Most of them, they are the accumulated accomplishment of countless generations of human beings. I mean, they stood the test of time. I like that. But for the most part, these ideas are the product of innumerable thinking and working men and women who can come to agree that a particular concept is true. I'm worried that many of the people in the U.S. and the Western world are now starting to think other principles are becoming true. A number of human convictions have persisted ever since civilization began, little changed by the passage of time. These seem to be permanent truths which any civilized nation must reckon with or else decay. Most Americans are convinced that certain of these enduring truths were revealed to mankind by God. Among these principles are the necessity for worshiping the Creator, the essence of private morality, and the nature of love, which teaches us our duties towards other men and women. The powers and the limits of human nature, Americans have felt, have been implanted in our minds by divine revelation. But the majority of the principles by which we live, Americans generally seem to agree, are the product of human experience through the ages. As man struggled up from savagery toward civilization, now making progress, now slipping into decadence. These are all derived from the wisdom of the species. I like that. American civilization does not stand by itself. It is part of a great chain of culture which we sometimes call Western civilization or Christian civilization. The Americans, like the Romans, have been conspicuously a people of practical talents. Sometimes they have been so much occupied with practical matters that they have almost forgotten how everything practical really is the application of a general principle. The savage remains a savage if he does not acquire general principles about which to form his life. The civilized man sinks back into savagery when he forgets the principles that have made possible his material accomplishments. We cannot understand our American cause, therefore, unless we first understand the principles upon which the American people have formed their complex society. We shall look at, there are three, by the way: moral convictions of Americans, political convictions of Americans, economic convictions of Americans. The American, as a type, is not a visionary, a dreamer. He acts upon long-established principles that have been confirmed as valid by the American historical experience, which today are threatened by violent and disastrous forces that would destroy not just our citizens, but also our culture. And I do believe that is part of the reason I'm reading this book, is to get a better understanding of the founding principles so I can speak to them and hopefully create a better defense against those who are trying to take us down. A man without principles is an unprincipled man. A nation without principles is an uncivilized nation. If a people forget their principles, they relapse into barbarism and savagery. If a people reject sound principles for false principles, they become a nation of fanatics. The thinking American nowadays has to defend sound principles on two fronts. One, the neglect of all principle which leads to social and personal decadence, and the other, the adoption of false principles which plunges the world into anarchy. Our danger at home is that a great part of the American people may forget that enduring principles exist. How much does that sound like today? One of the most important and beneficial aspects of our American tradition, indeed, is tolerance. And this tolerance extends to a sympathetic approval of variety, natural and private rights, and freedom of choice, both at home and throughout the world. The American mission is not to make all the world one America, but rather to maintain America as a fortress of principle, and in some respects an example to other nations. The American cause is not to stamp out existence of all rivals, but simply to keep alive the principles and institutions which have made the American nation great. He goes on to say, his quote here I like was, "Thinking in slogans ends with thinking with bullets." In much of the world, political discussion has degenerated into a babble of furious voices, all crying out abstract God terms and devil terms that bear small relation to real governments or real economies or real men and women. The American cause is made up of many moral and political and economic factors, some of them peculiar to America. It seems to us that the number of people who truly understand the complexity of the American cause has grown dangerously small. And I couldn't agree more with that sentence. This sentence hurt, but I thought it was pretty key to the second chapter here. Within the United States, a dismayingly large number of people seem to assume that our order and justice and freedom and prosperity will continue forever with no need of their help. If they think at all about the forces which keep American society vital, they seem to think of the nation's life as a kind of machine, tended by someone in Washington, from which they have an absolute right to benefit, but to which they are obliged to contribute nothing. Boy, does that sound like our world today? The government is here to provide. The nation is here to provide. Everyone's here is to provide. I have no duties or responsibility. I'm only here to receive benefits from. I thought that was chillingly correct. America really is a highly civilized nation whose achievements have been made possible by the union of enduring traditions with private energies and public responsibilities. Private energies, public responsibilities. That's something we don't hear about anymore. The American cause has become the cause of all high culture. I think that's said because if we fall as a country, there's nowhere else to go. We're the last bastion trying to hold the line of what we declared what the certain inalienable rights are, and we'll get to that later in another chapter. So I'm done reading to you. I just want to give you a sense of what I'm reading and how this book is striking me, much like when I read the Bible. This book is striking my core, and I just wanted to get out there and put it out in public. So I hope you enjoyed hearing some of it. Let me know, because chapters 3 and 4 are just as good, and I can do kind of 5-10 minute updates every few days if you're interested. Anyway, I love reading this stuff. I like getting facts inside of me. It makes me a better arguer when I come across somebody who is trying to tear us down. That's it, you guys. That's it for the video today. I will talk to you later. Hopefully we'll do a fireside chat tonight. Talk to you later.